Welcome to Aligned with Kell Quarrell, the podcast where we talk all things small business. It's a mix of mindset, empowerment, real conversations, and of course, alignment. I'm your host, Kell Quarrell, a businesswoman with close to 20 years of business experience. Get ready for a mix of solo deep dives and inspiring interviews with awesome guests who will share how they have aligned their businesses with the lives they love. Let's dive in to align your business with the life you've always wanted. Welcome to another episode of Aligned with Kell Quarrell. I am so excited today because today marks the first guest episode of Aligned, and I've always said I would never have had anyone else but Shez join me as my first guest on Aligned. She is, as I said, my best friend and my business partner in SheKan, and I'm just so excited to have you here today, Shez. So thanks for joining me.
Oh my goodness, thanks for having me. Congratulations on the podcast, mate. I know this has always been a goal, so congratulations. I'm truly am so honoured that I get to hang out here with you for the next little bit, and also for all of your aligned listeners. This is going to be such a valuable tool for so many that listen in. I love it.
Thank you. And as I said, I always knew that Shez would be my first guest on the podcast. And I guess my intention of having Shez on in the very beginning was that we would be talking about what our journey was in SheKan and, you know, how that chapter was in our life. But interestingly, we've got a bit of an announcement to make today.
We really have, and I'm so excited that this is where we get to share this. I think the podcast is aptly named Aligned because that's truly how we felt when we started SheKan, and we will get into sharing the story of how that happened. And then we'll talk about why we decided to, I'm going to say stop, because then that stop turned into a pause, because it is our greatest privilege to share with everyone today that we're actually going to go 2.0, and we're going to bring back what we truly, truly feel and is a need for our community. And we're going to bring back live events because we just know how much we missed them personally, but also how much our community did. And after a few Prosecco's and even some chats without Prosecco, we were like, do you know what? Time of our lives, loved it. And it felt right to do it again now. I think I really want to talk about and unpack divine timing, and truly that's what this feels like. I have the fire in my belly, and I know you do too, Cal, that we had when we were back in the stages of writing what this program could look like. So yay!
Yay. So yeah, it is a huge announcement, and it has been something that has been, it's probably not all that long in the pipeworks, because Shez and I are the type of people that kind of, once we've made a decision, and as Shez said, we've had multiple conversations, certainly several of them over a couple of bottles of Prosecco, but we just knew in our gut that it was the right decision to bring back what we're calling SheKan 2.0. And I guess, you know, we joked at what was going to be the final 4-day event back in March 2022 that you just never know. We could be the female versions of John Farnham, and we could just bring back one more tour. But I think, like, on today's episode, we want to kind of wind the clock right back to 2016 of when we first created SheKan and why and what was our calling then, and kind of the journey that we went on through SheKan, landing to February 2021 when we made the decision to stop, and then to come full circle just over 3 years later to be like, we've got this passion and drive, and we just know that we aren't finished. So yeah, let's go back to,
Okay.
let's go back to 2016. So what do you, we're going to have different memories of that personally, and then obviously the joint memories. But what do you remember mainly of that time, Shez?
So I think so. Winding it right back, Cal and I both, we had a significant amount of time. Cal lived in Nathalia. I grew up in Nathalia, and our paths never crossed. And this is a small community of 1,500 people. So being mindful that our paths never crossed, it's so interesting that I can not only end up with a best friend, but someone I want to actually start a business with years down the track. We always had this great respect for small communities, and then found ourselves in a similar journey, in a personal development and business development journey, and then loved the process, but then found it was really sad because the communities that we were living in at the time just didn't have the same access to the programs that we were just fortunate enough to be doing. We had great support at home. We both had really young families back then, and we just knew that there was a need for women, especially regionally, to be having access to these kinds of programs that we were doing. And our story always was the best way for us to learn was to teach. And so SheKan was born. And look, I know this won't be the last time we get to chat about SheKan, but I know, especially when we talk about Aligned, we found ourselves talking to business mentors, felt pulled to go and do more work with them because we felt that this had legs and we wanted to grow it. Found ourselves naming SheKan on a plane on the way to the event where we had to talk about our business. We were that fresh. And I know once we started, we fell in love with the process, and got to and it came out of just we joke that we came out of just wanting to catch up once a week and have dinner together and a glass of prosecco. Let's tack an event onto that, and it became what it was, and we loved it. And I guess we'll talk about later how we're excited because now we've always said, imagine getting to be your age again, knowing what you know, and doing your teens again, knowing what you know. I really feel like that's what SheKan feels like for me now. We get to go again, knowing what we know.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I wind the clock back and to think that on the 9th of January 2016, I closed the doors of my Alabache franchise after 10 and a half years. Absolutely certain that I was stepping into a minimum of a 6-month sabbatical, that I was just going to take time. And we found ourselves the very next week at a personal development program with our families and our husbands. And at that event, we did quite a extensive meditation that, not going to lie, the first 3 times Shez and I both fell asleep in. So we kind of didn't get to land anywhere in some clarity. But in this one, we came out and we had to take some notes. And both of Shez and I wrote on those personal notes that we wanted to work together. And that was probably about 5 years down the track. This is what we thought. And the week after that event, we actually started SheKan. It was the 1st of November 2016. 8 days later, we were on a plane going to Bali, and just talking about alignment and just talking about, this concept of being in the right place at the right time, but also us having this inner knowing that this is something we really wanted to do, and we just said yes to the opportunities. I will never forget sitting in my office in Jacqueline Court, Yarrawonga, in our house that we just sold. People were there helping us move. And Shez and I were on a business call with a possible mentor at that time. We were doing a kind of a free little 15-day event with them online, getting invited to go to Bali and just thinking, what is life? Can we make this work? Is this even an opportunity? Shez, you had a wedding to do, like the hair of someone's wedding, like the whole thing. And I got off the call and I said to my husband, this is what's transpired, we're really excited. I think, we've got something here. And he said, well, you definitely have to go. And I was like, You're right. We definitely have to go. And so really, like, we were literally on a plane, we deep dived into being mentored about the business, but within, 6 months, we were running our first immersive 2-day event, and it all started with a Facebook page and a knowing that what we could do and what we could deliver to women was something really powerful.
Yeah, and I mean, we were so fresh. So we were so new, not to mention, I think this is the bit that not a lot of people know, our relationship was fresh too. So,
Yeah.
like, this is the thing. Like, I used to say to people, I'm not really an on the phone person, talk on the phone. I've spent 3 hours talking to Kell on the phone today. So that real, like, a knowing that, and people would laugh and joke and say, you're starting a brand new business together. Have you two ever had a disagreement or a fight? No, not like, actually not once. 100% we had times where we had differences of opinions, but nothing that we could never unpack. And it was just such an amazing pairing. And then that truly did reflect out into the programs. It was, I know that was one of our biggest wins that we had, our ability to facilitate, and also, I guess, can you say telepathically, just know when someone needed to say something, someone did, and when someone, so that, it's that real alignment in business. It's what you have to look for. And I know that we were just excited from day one. We were committed. Let's not disregard the fact we were working, our butts off in this one.
Absolutely.
There was so much to do and to learn, but then I'll just never forget that first event. And, we shut the computers at the end of it and went, oh my God, here we go. We're on.
Yeah, we are. And I think now, as you alluded to before, is that, the rebirth of SheKan 2.0 really does excite us, because we have so much experience and we have so much knowledge around running incredible events and how to be able to facilitate really safe spaces for women to come together. But we were so fresh. Like, we made every mistake in the book. We never claimed to know what we were doing and anything like that. But to now have that knowledge of how to run successful businesses and to be able to kind of relaunch with that knowledge and that experience is really exciting. And I guess what I also know now around looking into human design is that, so crazily, Shez and I are both 2-4 generators. And so part of being a generator is that if you are expending your energy and you are doing things that light you up, you are basically attracting people based on the fact that you're just in flow with the world. And so when I look at that now and I have that understanding, I'm like, that is, well, until a couple of weeks ago, that was SheKan. And again, that is SheKan, because we absolutely love what we do. And I think, we had such an incredible journey across those 5 years where we were running, free workshops, we were running our 2-day escape, we were running our 4-day retreat. We worked with thousands of women. And then to make what was a heartbreaking decision in February 2021 to stop, both of us said we want to stop whilst we still love it. And that was, that's something that will really stick with me. And I don't the whole COVID period is probably a period of many people's lives that they would prefer to forget. But that was a major impact on, obviously, the live event business and SheKan. And what are some of the key moments, Shez, like in those first 5 years of business, like launching, have you got any really special
Isn't
memories?
this funny? Here's another thing, and I know we will, our goal will be to be better at this this time. We were the masters of next. So we were the masters of something would happen where we absolutely should have been celebrating those micro wins and these massive, significant things that were happening within our business. But we got really bogged down in the next and excited about the next too, but forgot to celebrate the wins. And we've always said, the post is coming. We just never did it because there was always a next. So I think for me, if I truly do look back, the one that still sticks in my head is after our first 2-day. And of course, offering those incredible women an opportunity to spend 4-day with us, and just how many said yes. And then being able to call all of those incredible mentors that we'd worked with and tell them, I feel like that one, I just goosebumped. I feel like that's the one that absolutely sticks in my head. And then, of course, I loved our first ever 4-day, that beautiful white party. And then I suppose there's some of the private little funny things that kind of happened in the back end that you forget about until you start talking about it. We can be honest now, the first ever 2-day, we didn't even have a 4-day venue. We literally had the girls in the lunch break helping us find somewhere because we were going to sell this new retreat. We didn't even have a venue yet. So that's how fresh we were. Yeah. We're so much better at that now.
And we are, but what I feel like needs to be said around that exact moment in time is that we were operating purely in flow with what we were meant to be doing and what we were here to do. And we were so passionate about supporting women that I really, we probably would have sold that event without a date and a venue. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But we were just so excited and so passionate. And I think definitely the 2-day for me, that very first 2-day, I also want to share though is our first ever 3-hour workshop was fucking terrible.
So bad.
It was terrible. And we had pages of notes and all of these slides. And if it is that you ever choose to come to a SheKan event, you will now know that Shez and I have no notes. There's no script. We basically have no idea what's going to come out of our mouths. It is all very dependent on the women in the room, and we have been beautifully and masterfully trained by one of the world's best in David T.S. Wood, and we can facilitate a 2-day event, a 4-day event with no notes. And that first event was terrible. It was terrible. We had a lot of people in the room and we totally bombed. And I'm not going to lie, is that the old ego took a little bit of a hit, right? And we were like, okay, well, this was a great idea, but maybe it's not as great of an idea as we thought. And the beautiful thing was we had mentors, we were investing in people that had our backs, but we also had each other. And that support network was the thing that was like, okay, we show up next week to the next event. And we got better and we got better and we got better. And even the 2-day, the very first 2-day, Shez, we did not understand the responsibility that we were going to feel, and that hit us like a ton of bricks on the Saturday evening of that event. So halfway through the event, we were like, holy shit, what are we doing? Are we capable? Because there's a lot of energy, right? You've got 20 plus women in a room and they're all sharing and you're creating a safe space. And that also, that following that event, I think it took us about 6 or 7 days to come out the other side to regenerate and find our own energy again. And that's something that we've got really good at now. We have an incredible ability to hold space, but not absorb energetically the emotions of the beautiful women that are in our events. But it feels like now when we look back that SheKan was a success from word go, but it absolutely wasn't. Because we like that saying, every master was once a disaster. Oh my God. We were a fucking disaster at
So
that first
much.
event.
I probably want to go back a little bit because like you said, yes, we didn't have a venue, and yes, however, there was also unshakable belief. So there was times where absolutely we felt the weight on that Saturday night. I can literally just put myself back in that right now. But there was still this unshakable belief that this was going to work, this was going to happen. And when all of those hands went up and all of those commitments and paperwork was like, yes, I'm in, I'm coming to fore, it's just you'll always be tested in business. You'll always be tested, but it's who do you then turn to? And I'm just so grateful that we did have each other. We were investing in mentors that had our back and could also give us examples of their first events. But it's you've got to talk about this kind of stuff because, like you said, from the outside looking in, it just looked like a roaring success. But there was there was all the other. So that's one of the things that I unshakable belief, because I remember sitting on that couch going, oh my God, it's just happened. We did it. I knew it. You wrote it.
Yeah.
You wrote it back then.
Yeah, I did write it. Yeah. And it's just, to just think back to those moments and then kind of how everything evolved. And we stayed very true to our existing business model, which really, for us, worked beautifully. And our events were always progressional. So to attend the 4-day event, you had to have attended the 2-day, and that still stands. We just know that there needs that kind of progression through for all women, so that they can come where they're at, where they are, and just move themselves through our events. So that's incredible. But I mean, we did a lot of international travel, investing in ourselves and investing in the business. I think we did Bali, Thailand twice, New Zealand. We went to Canada and spent a week with our mentor, and really that was like living under a microscope there. So, talk about next level personal development. That was that. But as you said before, there is just so many really incredibly memorable stories, and many of them don't happen from the stage. Many of them happened behind closed doors and hanging out with our awesome team, and just the funny things that we often will share on stages as well. It's not like they're a secret. It's just that those stories come out in the moment, because when they're relatable and they can support women in the room, that's when
I think the story thing's really poignant too, because so many of our stories are based on our own personal experience, and where our kids were, or where our relationships were, or I've talked about it a lot. My relationship with my mum, and there was just so many things that we would talk about, and we loved it. Like, I mean, I think that's what's so special. That's what, and you used the word heartbreaking decision when we decided to stop. We absolutely, the one thing we were both solid on was that we would never continue to do it if we didn't love it as much as which is why we can talk about it so fondly now, because we left it while we were still massively in love with it and had the best memories of it. And as you well know, COVID, the live event game stopped. Our thing was always live events. Our thing was creating safe spaces for women. And when that was taken away and everyone did go online, that wasn't us. Our magic happens in room, belly to belly, which is why this feels so great now. It feels so aligned now, because we can do that now. But I will never ever forget the day that we had that phone call. I know where I was sitting. I can picture it, and I think we'd both been tiptoeing around it, because we the thing that had pulled us the whole time, which was our belly, and I'm going to say your belly because that's the one we'd always ask. We'd said, oh gosh, it doesn't feel the same. We can't make it, the events that we would have. Plus, our events are never recorded. What happens in the room stays in the room. It's always
Correct.
it's always the magic of that event, which is why 90% of our clients would then revisit the program because they're at a different stage in their life. That's why these events are so magical. But yeah, I remember, and I think like you talked about Alabache, that was certainly a business you knew, and you've said this, that you stayed in for too long, and that
Way
was, I
too
think,
long.
the driving force behind let's make the decision now before we both feel like that. And
Yes.
I'll never forget that day.
Yeah. And it is just, like, and I don't want to harp on the whole COVID situation, but, when we literally finished a 4-day event the day before Victoria went in their first lockdown or 2 days before, and we had some women choose not to join us at that event, but we had events sold out in the future that were literally postponed, then they were coming back on, then they were postponed again. And I don't think a lot of other states actually appreciate exactly the heartbreak and the difficulty that many people were faced with in Victoria, because it was literally in and out of lockdown so many times, and they kept changing the goalposts. And again, that'll be a whole other story. We went to run our final 4-day event. We had 38 women in the room from 4 different states. We got 4 hours in and they pulled a lockdown and we had to send everyone away. And, stuff like that is really, really heartbreaking, and it's tiring and it's challenging. And so from a business perspective, we just didn't know like where we stood and where the foundations lied. But it was also interesting you touch on online shares, and we've spoken a lot about this just recently, is that we were completely ahead of our time. Like, to think that we launched SheKan literally with a Facebook page. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have a website. We literally were running free workshops. We were putting ads out there. And that's how we built this company. And, could you do that now in 2024? Probably not. Maybe, I'm not sure. However, we had an online course. We had an online program, I probably back in 2017, 2018. We've been using Zoom for like probably since no one knew about it. Like, because when we run events, we also have a private Facebook group with that event so the women can start to connect and get to know each other before they arrive. And so we would have calls and we would run them through Zoom. And then, COVID hits and Zoom's all of the thing. And we're like, oh, we've got this. But I still stand behind our decision not to go online. But I think what we know now is that we are so good in real life. Live events are where we are at. We have an incredible ability to create a safe space for women to come together. But maybe when we made the decision 3 years ago to stop, our mindset was in what we knew and not what it could have been. And I just feel like, as you said before, divine timing, this real sense of alignment, is that we've now got so much more experience that we know we don't have to do it the same way we did it when we finished.
No, I totally agree.
And that's exciting.
And I still, I think the one thing that was always, our biggest thing was our ability to create incredible communities. And like, I'm so loud and proud about that. The SheKan community was like no other. And we still have that ability now. And I know that's what that will be our first goal is, obviously welcoming back existing, but then creating this new space for women who have potentially not experienced a SheKan event and are really craving that connection and that safe space and And that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah. And you shared before, like back in 2016, we had a couple of years of our own journey of personal development, and we were spending a lot of money and traveling to a lot of places to invest in ourselves. And we were coming back to our small regional communities, and that we just realized that there wasn't the access to what we were exposing ourselves to. And so that was the calling, was like, let's teach what we're learning to other women and give women this opportunity. And I feel like it's come full circle in that where we are today is that we know, because of the conversations we're having with women, is women want to be back connecting with each other. They are ready to get back into focusing on themselves, and they're leaving this I need to do it all hustle type culture behind. And after the world changing with COVID, they're yearning for this ability to get back to live events and to be fully immersed and to create new communities and reconnect back with women. And I think that is also where we've been called back into doing what we love, because we know women really want and need
100%. And you really did say it beautifully. And we've said this just in our discussions. It really was ahead of its time. And I know I'm different to the Shez that started SheKan. I know you're different to the Kell that started SheKan, which, like, undoubtedly that means that our community is too. So that's why when we, starting again with these incredible events, they are going to be totally different, completely different, because
Yes.
we know now, and I think you said it beautifully, the world's different, and our needs and wants and desires is different. So I'm just so excited to get stuck into that part of it, because again, the one thing that never left was the unshakable belief, and that's still there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think too, clearly we now live in two different states.
We do.
So the way that we do business is going to look different to what we did in the beginning with SheKan as well. And drawing on our knowledge and our experience and our expertise, we can now also create the business that we are aligned with and that aligns with the season of life that we are now in. I mean, you've got an 18 and almost 17-year-old daughters. My girls are almost 15 now, and 13 at the end of later in the year. When we started, we had little kids, right? And so all of that has changed as well. And I think, let's wind the clock back to 1 year ago when we had to run what was going to be our final event, which was our Adventure Week in Bali. And that was 3 years after we were meant to go in the beginning. And I think that was a real pivotal moment, Bali. It was such an incredible event, both for the women that attended, but also for us. And I'll never forget, pretty much floating around the pool at the resort in Bali and the women sort of saying, would you do this every year? And we probably hadn't considered that. We were basically ready to come back to Australia, wind up the company, finish everything off. And that did plant the seed. And we thought, oh, well, if you guys would love to attend, we would love to put one together. And from that, we're now running 2 adventure weeks back to back in Bali. Crazily, we go next month. To think that was a year ago and here we are again. But even through those conversations and the incredible interest we had in Bali, that was kind of another knowing that it's time to bring these events back to women in Australia as well.
I couldn't agree more. And it's funny and I think we really have to keep going back to this alignment and divine timing. How many conversations in the last 3 years have you had? And people would say to you, why'd you stop? Or how come you haven't kicked back in again? And there wasn't that pull for yes. But you're right, it was Adventure Week that we'd said was going to be putting a bow on it. We got it done. It was 3 years in the making, and then just being in that environment. And I'm not just talking about Bali, I'm talking about being with women that are aligned and, have the same goals and values as you do. And then thinking, why can't we offer this to more? And then just that beautiful progression where you feel pulled and you feel like it's time, and all of a sudden the ducks just line up, don't they? And even on the times that they haven't, you still have that unshakable belief.
Yeah. So we had a beautiful team with SheKan as well, and a lot of people ask us about our team, and our team were women that attended our events. And we had a special connection with those women. We saw something in them, and we invited them into our team, and we did a live stream in our team Facebook group on the weekend, because we wanted to let them know first and foremost of our decision to, I guess, rebirth SheKan 2.0. And there's been some photos shared and some stories shared and some beautiful memories of the first time we got to meet them. And I know that this podcast, once our SheKan community listen to it, we will be absolutely peppered with incredible memories and stories, and I'm sure a lot of excitement. And bring it on, we're ready for that. But I guess let's kind of talk about what we're choosing for the new look of SheKan around events, and how we want to be able to obviously serve the women that we have had in our lives for many, many years, but also new people that have not had the ability to attend an event or work with us because, perhaps they just didn't know we were around at the time.
Exactly. So I think the main thing for us is that we want to build community, and we already know, like you said, I love the word peppered. There will be our existing SheKanners that will be like, how do we make this happen? And like you said, 2 different states now. But, I guess we've evolved a little bit since 2016, and our ability to feel still belly to belly is stronger now. So we will have something where people that want to be a part of the community, we can build that, and that we can be, talking to them and unpacking with them and just giving them a taste of what SheKan looks like, on a monthly basis. And I guess with the, the growth there starting to happen and starting to form, with the crescendo being coming to one of the live events, that's, spend time here, get a feel for the community, get a feel for, Kell and I, get a feel for what there is to offer, and if you feel aligned. And if you do, your reward to yourself is to truly take the plunge and be in the connection, and be at a 2-day or a 4-day event, or even come to Adventure Week in Bali with us next year.
Yes. Yeah. So some really exciting times ahead. As Shez alluded to, we are going to be launching a monthly membership, which we'll have more details and the links and everything in the show notes. But it will be called Happiness Hub. Now, for those of you that might recall, our online program back in, I think it was 2017, was actually called Happiness Hub. And part of the rebirth of SheKan 2.0, Shez and I were very clear on, let's not reinvent the wheel, but let's do things in a way that feel really good and really aligned for us. And we know will meet women where they're at in their journey. And so Happiness Hub is not an online course. Happiness Hub is a hub. It is a safe place online where women can come together and get to know Shez and I, and jump on a monthly coaching call with us, They will have the opportunity to put in their questions, and we will deep dive on those on our live calls. Those calls will be recorded and they will be accessible to anyone that is in the hub. There will also be some free resources inside the membership portal as well that you will have access to. And so that is kind of our replacement, I guess, so to speak, of the 3-hour workshop that we used to run. And the beautiful thing about what we know now is that being that is going to be online, that is going to be accessible to anyone that wants it. And so more information on that to come. And then we have decided to run just one annual 2-day event thus far in Australia and one annual 4-day event. And as I alluded to before, our events are still going to be progressional. So you do need to attend the 2-day if it is that you want to attend the 4-day. And I guess we probably should touch on that, Shez, why that is our decision around progressional events, because it's probably not maybe the norm, but let's touch on why we feel that that's
it's about evolving, isn't it? It's about, it's about you coming into your first event, what that feels like, your ability to connect, your ability for your own self-growth, seeing what that looks like, and then knowing that you want to go to your next level, you want to summit, you want to, see what the next thing feels like. So that's for us was always your first event was your start, and then your second event is your summit. Because here's what we know. When you're climbing that mountain and you reach the summit, what do you see? Another mountain, which just means it's basically right. What we know is that progressional events are part of the progressional growth of you as a female. Not going to bring the dog, mind you, that we can all hear barking in the background. Let's just not for 1 second act like, shit doesn't go down, but it's about you being in the moment. Just that's our dog, loving that, just wants to be a part of it. He's not coming to the events, he's a male. But what, I think that's the main thing, is that you come into each event different. Just like, the clothes that you bought last year that are sitting in your wardrobe this year, when you put them on, you're a different person. So do you still want that, that outfit choice that you had? That's kind of how we feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also kind of really, the content and what we want to share in SheKan also evolves, right? So we start to lay foundations in the 2-day event that really kind of evolve and, as you say, move up, and they are extended through the 4-day. And so for us, we've had the greatest success with women and their transformation by allowing them the opportunity to start with the 2-day. And then if they choose and they're called to and they feel aligned, then they can join us at the 4-day. And so for us, that is something that we know kind of really supported the women that joined the SheKan community. And we're really excited. And then, of course, Bali, Adventure Week in Bali. Adventure Week in Bali is open to anyone that would like to join us. It is truly about keeping the event very, very small and intimate. There is only 10 women that join Shez and I in Bali at each event. And it's an opportunity to connect, to really take pause in the everyday life, experience some super fun, different activities that you wouldn't have done before. But, a 2-hour deep dive session with us every day, just a really rejuvenating experience. And probably one of the greatest things that we got from last year's Adventure Week was the women with us that they felt 100%. Like time slowed down.
That was proof, and I'm so excited to get back to Bali. But yeah, do you know what? I just feel truly, truly grateful that this is come back full circle to us. I still have talked about SheKan from day one, and I know you have too, Kell, with the best, most fondest memories. Kell's beautiful husband, we were on a chat the other day, and he jumped on and said, "Oh, just congratulations on getting the band back together." So we're just still using these John Farnham, However, we're in such different parts of our lives too. As you said, our kids are older, so you can imagine what our content looks like now. What we're going to be sharing with our rooms. It's what we've experienced and been through. I'm so keen to get that going, because I know for our new clients that we get to meet, it's going to be magical. But I know how pivotal it'll be for our existings that are coming back, because I know they're in a new season too. And I really feel like that's going to be one of the foundations of what we'll be sharing in our rooms.
Yeah, and I think one of the greatest challenges we had with SheKan was languaging and explaining what we do. Like, I can remember Brezzy would be like, "You need to record a video for this event." And I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, "Speak to the people and speak to what challenges." And we're just like, how do you encapsulate what it is that we do? It's very, very difficult. And when I know people are going to be like, "New events, what are you going to be covering? What are you going to be talking about?" And here's what I want to say about that is, right now, we have no fucking idea, because we will navigate our events the way that we do best, and that is based on who is in the room and what they need at that time. And so our events always evolve, they always change. And as you said before, Shez, we had so many women attend the same event 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, because every event's different. There's always new women in the room. Plus, they are always the next version of themselves based on what is happening in their life. And so the event is always different. And even if the event and the content of what we share is the same, we've had women come to us going, "Oh, that's new. Haven't done that before." And we're like, no, that was in the last 4 events that you've been to. But because you take on and you take in what you need at the time, you're going to pick up something different at every event. But absolutely, we are in different seasons of our life. We've had, 3-year pause. We know through conversations what women are looking for. And so they are brand new events. We're super excited that for us, we are in that creative mode now where we're like, "Oh, what are all of the things that we can bring in and what can we do?" But yeah, we're
absolutely,
we're pumped.
I
we're
feel
excited.
really, really grateful and really blessed that this was exactly how we got to share it. So yeah, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, because yes. I've got a buzz that I know hasn't been bubbling for a while, so I can't wait.
Yeah. So we're going to put everything in the show notes. We have a website. We've turned that around pretty quick. You'll see that is also going to evolve over time. You'll start to see us show up more on socials, again, on our existing Facebook and Instagram page. What we can say is that we're going to have a founding member launch for Happiness Hub that is coming in May, and that will then kick off in June. So more information on the website about that. Our 2 events, we have already gone ahead. We've already locked in the dates. Remember, both the 2-day event and the 4-day event are annual events. They are progressional. Our first 2-day is happening in Victoria in September of this year. So when you look at that, it's like 5 months away, holy. And our 4-day, the progressional event from the 2-day, will be happening again in Victoria in March of 2025. Bali will always be May, possibly early June. And that is again happening in 2025 because we are ready to get on that plane next month for this year's Bali as well. So lots and lots happening. We're really excited. And of course, if you've got any questions, if you've got any comments, if you've got any stories, if you've got any photos from the journey and your journey with SheKan, like honestly, please send it to us. Drop us a message to Facebook or Instagram, but we would obviously love to hear from anyone that has got a story to share about their journey with SheKan. But yeah, this is just the new beginning.
So yeah, and you know what? I'm actually here for it. I hope we get peppered with messages and because it's such a buzz for us to be talking about it again. And just knowing of what's coming up in the next 12 months. It's going to be magical.
Yes. So again, all of the information will be on the website. But Shezzy, thank you. What a first guest episode to have on Aligned with Kell Quarrell. I will be back next week for a solo deep dive, but I hope you've got value from this. There will definitely be more podcasts around SheKan because, you know, we've only just hit the tip of the iceberg, but we definitely wanted to make that announcement that we are back. SheKan 2.0 is here, and all of the information can be found on our website, which is shekan.com.au. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Aligned with Kell Quarrell. I hope our conversations have inspired you to be bold in the pursuit of your dreams. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd be so grateful if you shared it with the business women in your life and took the time to leave a review. Your feedback is like an ice-cold glass of Prosecco, always welcomed and always appreciated. You might even consider giving the show a follow. Until next time, continue to take bold action towards aligning your business with your deepest desires.